Recently, there's been a lot of talk about critical race theory being taught in the schools, about certain types of history, be it 1776, um, or even in Texas, 1836 history being taught in schools. And so now the question is, what's best for Black kids? Welcome to Black on the Inside. So with all this talk, there's a lot of people realizing that white parents are concerned about their children being taught, being indoctrinated. And it occurred to me that, wait a minute, indoctrinated? Now you're concerned about your children being indoctrinated? What do you think schools have been doing for the past, public schools have been doing for the past, since they've existed? But it's only when the indoctrination seems to be not in their interest and not serving their interest that they suddenly have a problem with it. Nonetheless, what about Black parents? Do we want critical race theory being taught in the schools? Quite frankly, I'm going to say to us something similar to what I say to them. If they don't want their kids being indoctrinated, they probably shouldn't have them in public school. And the simple fact is, whether critical race theory is taught in schools or not, our kids are being indoctrinated. Our kids, and if you need to look no further than starting every day pledging allegiance to this government is a problem. That is reason enough for us to say, you know what? We need to get our kids up out of this. And I'm encouraged to see people like a King Randall, 21-year-old young man in Albany, Georgia, who's doing for self and like, okay, I'm going to teach these kids skills that they need to learn to survive that'll be actually have a beneficial and marketable effect that they can use going forward. When I look at a podcast, like a podcast YouTube channel, like 8 Black Hands, these are 4 Black educators, 4 brothers who are educators, and they're running schools, they're in the space, but they realize that there's a lot of problems with the current public school system. And one of the things they're talking about is the distinct possibility that we need to be moving towards an agenda where we just educate our own kids, because that's the way, as the saying goes, if you want something done right, do it yourself. See, I personally, when I ran for office, I advocated for changing the curriculums because I noticed that our public school curriculums are not designed to prepare our kids for success. Our public school curriculums are designed to prepare our kids for a lifetime of mediocrity. Our public school curriculums are designed to prepare our kids for a lifetime of being employees for somebody else. Our public school curriculums are designed to prepare our kids for a 47-year plan that goes nowhere. 47 years of working, barely staying above, barely keeping your neck above water, your head above water, staying just over broke, and then retiring and praying for a pension. That's not a plan. That's not in our children's best interest. That's not in their children's best interest. That's not in our community's best interest. We need to start working for our best interest. We need to realize that allowing a system, a racist system, a systemically racist system to teach our kids, to have custody and control over our kids for 13 years is not just, it's not just a bad idea. It's not just a horrible idea. It's not just an insane idea. It's negligence. It's malpractice. It's child abuse. Like, how are we giving our children over to the enemy for 13 years and thinking somehow this is going to work out well for us, for them, for the future? And then we look at our young ones that are rebelling against the system and we think the problem's with them. No, the problem's with us in allowing this system to teach our children. That's the problem. The kids that are rebelling are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So when do we wake up and say, wait a minute, how are we letting the enemy have custody and control of our children for 13 years? How? How in the world does this make sense? How in the world is this a good idea? How in the world does this benefit our children, our community, their futures, and their prospects for success? How does this work? It doesn't work. That's why things aren't going right in our community, because we're allowing the enemy to have control of our children's life, to shape and mold our children's minds, and to punish them if they reject this indoctrination, to punish them if they rebel against this indoctrination. That's the problem. We're not doing it right. We need to get it right. And that means we need to be teaching our children. We need to be making sure our kids are learning things that actually have practical applications for their success. We need to be teaching our kids to run businesses. We need to be teaching our kids to be able to be employers, not just employees. We need to be able to teach our kids. We need to teach our kids to have skills that can allow them to exist at the highest levels of society, rather than praying for minimum wage and praying for some politician to get minimum wage raised. Why are we settling for minimum wage? Why are we settling for wages? There are better ways to make money. There are better ways to succeed. And we need to be doing it. And now you may say, but we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to start businesses. We don't know how to, we're not financially literate ourselves. How do we teach our kids? Okay, let's acknowledge our deficiencies. Let's acknowledge what we're doing wrong. And now let's start doing it right. So one of the things we could be doing is starting to learn this information ourselves. So even while compulsory education exists, we can be learning certain skills that we want our children to learn that aren't being taught in the schools, that will actually give them a leg up. That's one of the things we need to be doing. Two, we need to be moving into in a position where we do not have compulsory education, where our children are being held prisoner by this government, by the federal government, by these state governments, by these local governments, and are in the custody and control of people who do not care about them. Thirdly, right now, we have the benefit of technology. We have the benefit of a technological revolution that makes things so much easier. And last year, 2020, actually laid out a blueprint. We don't need a classroom. There is so much information out there on the internet. There are individuals that are actually doing financial education online. Are we taking advantage of this? Are we letting our kids take advantage of this? Are we getting that information to them, making sure they actually do something that's going to be beneficial for them and that's going to give them a long-term chances, increase their chances for long-term success? This is what we need to be focused on. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. But we need to start making better decisions for the sake of our children. For the sake of their futures, we need to stop outsourcing the most important job of any community, and that's the raising of our children. Thank you for checking out this episode of Black on the Inside. If you like what I'm talking about, if you want more content about improving the Black community, about solutions in the Black community, not just critical of the Black community, but that can actually speak to us, to the issues that we're facing, things we're doing right, things we need to be doing better, and actually working to build a better Black community, subscribe to this channel. Also, give me a thumbs up, like, you can share this content, and let me know what topics that you're concerned about, what topics you think are really important in the Black community, and we can begin to make moves. Because right now, things are changing, things are moving fast, and more of us are waking up to the reality that our current leadership, our current Black leaders, are not actually working for our interest. Like I said, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.